Hello, and a warm welcome back to Fluent Mic English. I am your host, Corey, and today we are doing something a little bit different, something special. Usually we teach you a specific grammar point or a list of vocabulary words, right? But today we are going to conduct a test, a listening comprehension test.
That is right, Corey. Hello, everyone. I am Fenrir. It is great to be here. And when we say test, we do not mean a scary exam with a red pen. We mean a benchmark. A benchmark is a standard or a point of reference used for comparison. Basically, we want to help you measure exactly where your English level is right now.
Exactly, a benchmark. That is a great word, Fenrir. Today's episode is titled, If You Understand This, Your English is Good. We are going to have a natural, fast-paced conversation. We are going to use idioms, phrasal verbs, and linked speech. If you can follow along with 70% of this, you are likely an intermediate learner. If you understand 90% or more, you are definitely advanced.
And we will still be helpful, of course. When we use a difficult phrase, we will pause just for a second to explain it in context. So, Corey, let's dive right in. What is the first barrier that stops people from reaching that advanced level?
Honestly, I think it's the intermediate plateau. Let's break that down. A plateau is a flat area of land that is high up. But in learning, a plateau means you have stopped making progress. You feel stuck. You know enough English to survive, but you don't feel fluent.
Oh, that is the worst feeling. It's very frustrating. You can order food in a restaurant, you can check into a hotel, but you can't make a joke. You can't express your personality. That is the plateau. So our first test today is about nuance. Do you know what I mean by nuance, Corey?
I do, but let's explain it for our listeners. Nuance refers to a very small difference in meaning or sound. It's a subtle distinction. For example, if I ask you, "How are you?" and you say, "I'm fine," that means one thing. But if you sigh and say, "I'm fine," that means something completely different, doesn't it?
Precisely. The words are the same, but the tone changes the meaning. Advanced English is all about tone. Let's look at a specific vocabulary set involving vision. This is a great way to test nuance. Corey, what is the difference between stare and glare?
Ooh, good one. Okay, both involve looking at someone for a long time. However, to stare, S-T-A-R-E, means to look fixedly, often with eyes wide open. You might stare because you are surprised or maybe even rude, but it's neutral or curious.
Right. Whereas to glare, G-L-A-R-E, is negative. If you glare at someone, you are looking at them angrily. So, listeners, if you understood the difference between staring at a stranger and glaring at an enemy, you are doing well. That is nuance.
Another part of nuance is register. Register refers to the level of formality. You speak differently to your boss than you do to your best friend. If you understand this conversation today, you are understanding a standard conversational register. We aren't being too slangy, but we aren't being formal like a textbook either.
Speaking of slang and informal speech, let's move to the second part of our test, phrasal verbs. This is usually where students start to panic, but don't panic. Phrasal verbs are just a verb plus a preposition that creates a new meaning.
They are everywhere. You cannot avoid them. Fenrir, let's throw a few difficult ones out there and see if our listeners can keep up. How about put up with?
That is a classic. To put up with someone or something means to tolerate it, to accept an annoying situation without complaining. For example, my neighbor plays drums at midnight and I just can't put up with the noise anymore.
Perfect example. Here's another one using the word run. How about run into?
Physically running? No. To run into someone means to meet them by accident, unexpectedly. I went to the supermarket and I ran into my old teacher. I didn't hit him with my car. I just saw him and said hello.
Right. And to make it even more confusing, we have run out of. If I run out of milk, it means I have none left. I have used it all. So listeners, here is a complex sentence. Try to follow this. I ran into my brother at the store because I had run out of coffee and I had to put up with his bad jokes for 20 minutes.
Wow, that is a sentence that really packs a punch. Packs a punch means it is powerful. If you understood that sentence, meeting the brother by accident, having no coffee left, and tolerating the bad jokes, then your English is definitely above intermediate.
I think so too. Now, Fenrir, let's talk about the thing that actually makes listening so hard. It isn't always the vocabulary. Sometimes it is the music of the language, connected speech.
Connected speech. This is when native speakers smash words together. We don't pronounce every letter perfectly. We are lazy speakers. For example, Corey, say this phrase clearly. What are you going to do?
If I speak like a robot, I say, what are you going to do? But in reality, I would say, what you gonna do?
Exactly. What you gonna do? The what are you becomes whatcha, and going to becomes gonna. If you are listening to this podcast and you can understand us easily, it's because your brain is automatically decoding these sounds. You don't even have to think about it.
Another common one involved the letter T. In American English especially, if a T is between two vowels, it sounds like a soft D. We call this a flap T. So the word water sounds like waiter.
Or letter. I am writing a letter. I don't say letter, I say letter. If you can hear the difference between writing a letter and writing a ladder, context is everything, then you are doing a great job.
Context is king. Let's move to the ultimate test. Fenrir, I want you to tell a short story. Just a minute or two. Don't slow down too much. Use natural idioms. Listeners, your goal is to understand the main idea and the details. Are you ready, Fenrir?
I was born ready. Okay, here is a true story about a travel mishap. A mishap is an unlucky accident. So a few years ago, I was traveling to Tokyo. I was supposed to have a layover in San Francisco. A layover is a stop between flights. But we were delayed taking off because of a mechanical issue. By the time we landed in San Francisco, I only had 20 minutes to catch my connecting flight.
20 minutes? That is cutting it close.
It was definitely cutting it close. Cutting it close means not having much time to spare. So I grabbed my backpack and I sprinted. I ran very fast across the terminal. I was out of breath, sweating, looking absolutely crazy. I got to the gate just as the agent was closing the door. I begged her, please let me on. She looked at me, she looked at the computer, and she decided to bend the rules for me.
To bend the rules. That means to allow something that isn't strictly allowed just this one time.
Exactly. She let me on. I walked down the aisle, found my seat, and I collapsed. I was so relieved. But then the pilot made an announcement. He said, folks, we have a minor problem with the landing gear. We need to return to the gate. So after all that running, we sat on the tarmac for 2 hours. It was ironic, honestly.
Oh, that is painful. But it's a great story for testing comprehension. Let's check in with the listeners. First question, why did Fenrir have to run? Because his first flight was delayed by a mechanical issue. Second question, did he miss the flight? No, the agent bent the rules. Third question, did the plane leave immediately? No, they had a landing gear problem.
If you caught those details, give yourself a pat on the back. Give yourself a pat on the back is an idiom meaning to congratulate yourself. You did a good job.
Now, Fenrir, let's discuss one more advanced concept, idioms related to emotions. Advanced speakers often describe their feelings using metaphors. For example, if I am very happy, I might say, I'm on cloud 9.
Right, or I'm over the moon. But what if I am sad? I might say I'm feeling blue, or I'm down in the dumps. Down in the dumps is a great one. It just means depressed or unhappy.
What about anger? We talked about glaring earlier, but if someone is really angry, we might say they hit the roof, or they blew a fuse.
Like an electrical fuse exploding. My dad blew a fuse when I crashed his car. It paints a vivid picture. That is what advanced English is. It's visual. You aren't just saying words, you are painting pictures in the listener's mind.
That is beautiful. Painting pictures. I think that's the key difference between being a student and being a speaker. A student translates words. A speaker conveys ideas and images. Fenrir, do you have any tips for our listeners on how to bridge that gap? How to go from translating to thinking in English?
That is the million-dollar question. Honestly, immersion is key. But you don't have to live in an English-speaking country to immerse yourself. Change your phone language to English. Watch movies without subtitles or with English subtitles, not your native language. And most importantly, talk to yourself. Talk to yourself? You mean like a crazy person? Yes, like a crazy person. Narrate your life. When you are cooking, say, now I am chopping the onions. Now I am boiling the water. It sounds silly, but it forces your brain to retrieve vocabulary quickly. It helps you stop translating and start producing. That is excellent advice. It builds muscle memory. I also want to touch on the concept of false friends briefly. This is a big trap for many learners, especially from European backgrounds. Oh, absolutely. False friends are words that look the same in two languages but have different meanings. For example, the word sensible. In many languages, a word looking like sensible means sensitive or emotional. But in English, sensible means logical and practical.
Right. If I say he is a sensible man, I mean he makes good decisions with his money. I don't mean he cries easily. That would be sensitive. Understanding these false friends is a clear sign that your English is getting very good.
Another one is actually. In many languages, the cognate means currently or right now. But in English, actually is used to correct a fact or express surprise, like, actually, I don't like pizza.
Yes, I hear that mistake all the time. Students say, I am actually working at a bank, meaning currently. But a native speaker would think you are correcting a misconception. It's a subtle but important difference.
We are covering a lot of ground today. Covering a lot of ground means discussing many topics. Let's do a quick recap of the idioms we used today, just to reinforce them. Repetition is the mother of learning, after all.
Good idea. We used put up with, meaning to tolerate. We used run into, meaning to meet unexpectedly. We used cut corners. Oh wait, we didn't use that one yet. Let's add it.
Okay.
Thanks for watching. Please subscribe and like the video.